What is up, LudyBros Army? It is your boy, Big Bro Lamar Ludi, and I'm sitting down today, fresh off of the Jazz and Warriors basketball game. I just switched over from NBA TV and came over to start recording because after sitting down and watching the Utah Jazz today, it got me thinking, are these guys really going to be a favorite in the playoffs to go ahead and win that title? But before we sit down and take a close look to answer that question, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Hit a like on this video if this is a topic that you enjoy. Let me know in the comments below if there's a team that you want me to take a close look at. I hit up a few teams during the All-Star break that had caught my eye during the first half of the season, and I'm going to keep that rolling here going into the second half and heading towards the playoffs. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the standings. The Jazz are sitting at 28-10, counting today's loss to the Warriors. They're just 2.5 games ahead of the Suns and 3 games ahead of the Lakers, with a 3.5 game lead over the Clippers. So those are the top 4 teams, the cream of the crop of the Western Conference, with the Jazz sitting at the very, very top. So a first round potential matchup could be them and the Mavericks. I mean, looking good. They're looking good right now. Even with the loss today, they're looking good. Something that I took away from today's game was the fact that they were able to get out there and really put in, an effort. I saw a lot of effort from them going against the Warriors. The Warriors just seemed to have an answer. And they hit big shots when they needed to, but the Jazz were really putting that pressure on them. As something that I've been noticing all season long, I've tried to watch the Jazz every chance I could get when they were going up against teams that really interested me from the first half of the season. So I actually did watch a lot of their games. Also, anytime they faced off with one of the top, Lakers, Clippers, or Sixers, or Bucks or Nets, I tried to tune in. But let's go ahead and take a close look at what their team is doing, because this is where we're really going to see how the Utah Jazz do their damage. If you look here at their per game stats, you're getting 24.8 points per game from Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he's the unquestioned leader of the team, and he's young. He's 24 years old. Last year in the playoffs, when they went up against the Nuggets in the first round, and it went all the way to 7 games, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, he showed up and he showed out. He put in, an effort, an impressive effort in what turned out to be, a loss. But I mean, he just put on a show. I mean, he was getting 50 points. Him and Jamal Murray both. I was impressed with both of those guys. And he's continued it here this season. I think that's what's very impressive, is that he's been able to come in with defenses focused on him. He's still coming in and he's still getting his buckets. He's still getting his points. He's attempting 5.4 free throws per game. So for me, I mean, that's a little, I wish he could get to the free throw line just a little bit more. But I mean, he's doing what he needs to do as a scorer. He's doing what he needs to do, putting pressure on opposing defenses. But this is what's really impressive with the Utah Jazz, is how spread out their scoring is. And this is what makes them dangerous coming into the playoffs. They're getting 17.9 points per game from Jordan Clarkson off the bench. And he just comes in, he's got the green light. He feels like he can score on anybody. It doesn't matter who he's matched up against. He feels like he can score on anybody. And he's coming in getting 17.9 points per game. I mean, that, to me, that's really impressive for a guy off of the bench. In about 26 minutes, he's coming in and really filling up the cup. And that's giving them just so much firepower that opposing teams, they may not have that same amount of firepower coming off the bench. So when, if Donovan Mitchell goes to the bench, you've got Jordan Clarkson coming in. He's 28 years old, so he's still, relatively young, coming into his prime here. And he's really just in a groove as a veteran now from off of those years with the Lakers, coming over to here to Utah and finding his niche coming off the bench. I mean, it's really working out well for him. And then the next leading scorer after that is Mike Conley. So we saw Mike Conley in the All-Star game. We saw him in the 3-point shootout at All-Star weekend. And he's getting 16.2 points per game as kind of one of the elder statesmen of the team and one of those veteran leaders that can steady this team. He's doing what he needs to do. Now, last year, we saw that he was somewhat uncomfortable with his rotation with the Jazz, but this year, he looks much more comfortable, much more confident, and it looks like he's going to be able to really contribute when the pressure hits of playoff basketball. But that is a question. Is he going to be able to step up? I mean, the way that their season ended last year in the playoffs, Mike Conley was the one who took that final shot and rimmed it out. Now it was a tough shot. Don't get me wrong. Game 7, last shot, but he did miss it. So now it's just, learning from that. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on in this video. Learning from that 7-game series going forward is going to be critical for this team in the playoffs. Next on their scoring list, you have Bajon Bogdanovic. And this is the big difference from last year is Bogdanovic is getting you 16. We're just going to round up. He's getting you 16 points per game. He's added another dimension to their offense, another weapon to just, spread the floor. I'm kind of looking at these guys as, a team that just with so many weapons and you don't know who's going to be scoring next and the pressure can just continue. It's almost like a Brooklyn Nets light sort of situation where you have scoring that can come from anywhere. Now, these guys are not the same type of playmakers as James Harden and Kyrie Irving, but when you're getting such balanced scoring and you don't know where it's going to come from next, and you're like, okay, well, we stopped this guy, but then this guy hits the 3. We stopped him now. Okay, now he's scoring a little mid-range jumper over here. It's really spreading the floor out and making it difficult for opposing teams to match up. Next up on this list, you've got Rudy Gobert getting you 14.2 points per game, but he's also getting 13-point run rebounds. And I mean, that guy as the anchor, we're talking a lot about the offensive end, but having him as the anchor is so crucial because look here at his blocks. He's up at about 2.8 blocks per game. I mean, that's 3 blocks essentially. And not only that, there's another stat that's not really kept track of here on Bleacher Report or really anywhere, but just shots altered. When you have a guy like that patrolling the middle, it allows people out on the perimeter to get up and be much more aggressive on the defensive end, and they're able to funnel those guys into him. Now, that was the issue today. That was the issues in today's game, was that it seemed like the defense, they just weren't funneling them the right way. They weren't funneling them into Rudy Gobert, although he had a monster game. He did have a monster game today, but the guys weren't funneling him into where they needed to go. Now, sometimes it's going to happen in the NBA. There's going to be nights where you just, you miss your assignments or whatever, or the other team just gets hot. I mean, the Golden State Warriors are who they are. They shoot the 3. Wiggins had a huge game. But, with him as the anchor, with Rudy Gobert locking it down and holding the fort down in the middle, that is a critical piece that a lot of teams in the NBA might not have. And you've got this big body in the middle who can go ahead, and he's ultra athletic. You can even get a bucket from him, just pick and roll him to the basket. He's in there cleaning up messes and misses. He's in there cleaning them up. And then the last guy that we've got averaging, over double figures, double digits for these guys is Joe Ingles. He's got 11.4 points per game. But what I like about him is that 3-point shooting. He's stepping out there and he's shooting 46% from 3. So he's ultra efficient. He's stepping up in big clutch moments. He's not afraid of the moment either. And he's able to knock down the 3. And that is what really, when the clock's winding down and we've had a couple other guys try and probe in for buckets or looking for the shot, to have somebody like that who can bail you out and hit big shots in key moments, that's going to be critical for advancing you, in the playoffs. So looking at this team and just how well-rounded they are, with other veterans, Derek Favors comes off the bench. Royce O'Neal, he's working hard, starting for you. It's just, this team is very balanced and they can really come at you in a lot of different ways and kind of wear you down. But it all starts off, like I said, with Donovan Mitchell. And if you look at him this year, his numbers are up based off of his career. His numbers are up this year. 24.8 points per game, so that's a 25. He's getting, I'm rounding up or down, he's getting 5 rebounds and 6 assists. I mean, this guy is really playing as an MVP candidate at an MVP level, and I think we really need to consider him. I know that a lot of people, and this happened, in the All-Star break, the last 2 guys picked were Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They're not going to forget that. And the thing about NBA players, they, some of these guys have long memories. They're not going to forget that. And they're going to want to come out and prove something come playoff time with a little chip on their shoulder. So that might have been fuel for the fire. I don't know if it was wise for LeBron and Durant to do that. The Utah Jazz last year, I thought that they were going to beat the Denver Nuggets last year. That was a, pick'em series. It came down to the last shot. But this year, I think that they really learned from the playoffs last year. and they're taking that experience into this year. And you can expect them. I think they're going to have a long, deep run into the playoffs. And the Lakers, I think that these guys, when you look back at the top teams right now, as of right now, and I know that there's going to be a play-in for that final spot. But as of right now, we would see the Jazz and Mavericks. Well, a healthy Jazz team, I think, is going to beat the Mavericks and move on to the next round. Let's just pretend that this plays, this standings hold true. Then you're going to have Clippers and Blazers. If Clippers went out there, Clippers and Jazz in the second round, I think that that's very exciting. And it's not a hands down lock for the Clippers to get it. Eventually, they'd be running into the Lake Show probably. And if Lakers aren't 100% healthy, it might be a surprise as to who's coming out of the Western Conference this year. But what do you think? What do you think of the Utah Jazz? Are they a team that's impressed you? Right now, they're 28-10, and they're sitting atop the Western Conference. Are they a team that's impressed you? Are you worried about them come playoff time? Do you think that they have what it takes to knock off your team? If they're not the team you're rooting for, do you think they have what it takes to knock your team off? Well, let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.